Are you worried with coronavirus COVID-19? I'm in Daegu, South Korea. We are adding almost 500 cases a day. Shopping is closed. Streets are empty. Outside of Wuhan, Daegu has the most cases. Not enough masks, Lysol wipes are sold out, hand sanitizer is gone. I'm not concerned for myself but rather for my 2 young kids. We are staying inside. Avoiding people. If it's any consolation, reports I've read from the WHO and CDC are that children show the strongest immune response and aren't becoming sick. Children healthy, adults older sick and older. Women seem to be doing better than men, but this is based on anecdotal evidence in China. Apparently it affects smokers worse, and men are far more likely to smoke in China. One of the reasons I've heard for the anecdotal evidence. How do you get food and supplies if shops are closed? Did you have to stock up? What happens to people who didn't? I should say, not everything is closed. There are some smaller mom-and-pop shops that are open and some regular stores. Because the outbreak here in Daegu is approaching 2,800 people, there's been infected people in the local supermarkets, so some of them have closed. I am lucky and fortunate enough to have access to the US military bases here, and they've taken drastic measures to keep the sick out. So I've been able to do a lot of shopping on base. I live in Ulsan, Korea, and things are bizarrely quiet outside. It's eerie. Combine that with the constant coronavirus emergency updates on my phone, and it's a rather unsettling situation. All government buildings, libraries, immigrating, have been closed. The start of the school year has been pushed back indefinitely and many private academies are closed too. Mine was closed last week and will not be open this coming week either. This must be absolutely wrecking the economy of the countries hardest hit, and I can't help but think that, with the reaction this outbreak is receiving both here and in China, that this pandemic, I know the WHO hasn't classified it as such yet, but let's be real, may be worse than what we're being led to believe. That said, a 2-week unplanned holiday has been very pleasant. It is so strange outside. The usual hustle and bustle is gone. The emergency alerts are less than fun. Between those and the apartment warnings, I feel like it's not quite at home.
Are you stocked up on food or having to venture out to get food supplies every so often? That's not been a problem so far. Markets are still open and stocked. At least for now. Hand sanitizer and masks are sold out everywhere in California so far. That's unfortunate. Thankfully, because Korea has such bad pollution and dust, many people including myself already had some masks. They are still not enough for all people, but generally there are enough for most. I have in the US until 2/28. In news on the radio it was mentioned that masks do not work, and potentially increase the risk. The virus is small enough to go through the pores of the mask. If the virus gets caught in the mask, it will end up in a humid and warm environment as a result of breathing through the mask. Ideal situation for the virus to grow. Buy vodka. I'm worried that people who carry the "this isn't serious" flag might be part of the problem. The low mortality rates have been in countries with functional healthcare symptoms. If this breaks out fast and overwhelms the global healthcare system, then the fatality rate of other medical problems increase, in cases where normal treatment would save your life. But all the hospitals are overwhelmed. I'm not saying it's the end of the world, but this can potentially be extremely serious because it seems to be spreading rapidly. Honestly, the virus is not dangerous. Mass panic and the unpreparedness of our first world governments are. Speak for yourself. I'm immunosuppressed and at much higher risk. Saying that, I'm not panicking. I've got relatively good over the years at avoiding diseases. I do wish my coworkers stopped trying their hardest to kill me off with every bug they get though. It's not dangerous as long as you don't know or care about anyone over 70 or somehow weakened. I'm not comfortable with my parents having an 8% of a chance of dying and don't depend on any meds to live, or know anyone who may need meds to live or be stable that may have their supply chains interrupted because that stuff is all fabricated in China and so many factories are closed. Only time will tell at this point, what with it taking up to 20 days to show symptoms. I can't afford to isolate myself for 16 days, so the only logical prep is wash my hands after going out in public. Yay, thoughts about it. Wash hands. Try to remember to not touch your face. Don't unnecessarily touch shit in stores or public places. It is a good habit to clean your phone often just in case of any germs after being out in public as well. I try to not touch shit in general. I'm from Colombia, and it looks that not even a frickin' virus wants to live here. No has died from the virus in Colombia, yet as all infected persons were shot in street muggings before their symptoms got worse. I'm not concerned about the virus itself. No elderly relatives to worry about. All of my friends and family are young enough to be unharmed. What concerns me is the potential civil unrest. The fear and panic, combined with the need for a lot of people to self-isolate, the overstretching of public services etc. could be a lot worse than the disease itself. My country seems to be handling things very well, considering. It could still turn into a pandemic as much here as anywhere else though. The media is just pushing the fear. People are recovering, many don't even know they're infected and will continue to be fine without ever realizing. To many, it's just a cold. But still shops are being swept clean, everyone is freaking out, wearing masks, not going outside. I'm worried that I can't shop food anymore in a couple days or weeks. Someone died today about 500 yards from where I am right now, so it's pretty scary. My friend I'm with has a husband that is a fireman that came into contact with 2 other firemen that transported them, so I'm pretty scared. I live in Japan and the country is in full freak-out mode right now. Schools have been closed as well as some museums and even arcades. A lot of people aren't leaving their houses either, which is actually kind of awesome because the trains aren't sardine-packed right now. Even still, I don't have it half as bad as my friend who lives in Hong Kong. He and his wife are going stir-crazy from the quarantine and the associated panic. Personally, I'm not the least bit worried and, while I don't want to downplay the virus, I can't shake the feeling that people all around the world are grossly overreacting to it. I'd rather not be sick for 2-6 weeks, but I'm not too concerned about that. I'm concerned for many people in my church who are elderly or have health problems already. I'm concerned with how badly people might overreact. I do think there will be some rather serious disruptions. Hospitals overwhelmed, schools closed, public events cancelled, that sort of thing. I'm not personally worried as the death rate is pretty low. However, I'm concerned if it gets into one of the California homeless camps, it's going to spread like wildfire and kill a lot of people. I don't think they have great access to treatment. I'm in Southern California and stores are already sold out of masks, hand sanitizer, so it could get interesting. Plus the CDC has hardly tested anyone due to the stringent requirements. The lack of testing won't be the death of us all, but it could be the death of millions. Early testing of possible contacts and quarantining them the only possible way to contain it. That is not what was done. Cause I live in Italy and I am not really far away from the danger zones, mostly because it's spreading too fast and they cannot stop it. I am not worried for my own health, but for the fact that they would isolate me and I would probably lose my new job for it. The stock market is not crashing just because of fears of dying from the virus, it's that China is still in flux and the entire world depends on them to produce most of our stuff. If they're having to shut down their factories, it'll be a domino situation pretty quickly unless a really good antidote vaccine is discovered, and that is highly unlikely to happen soon enough to protect the economy. So this is more than just about the many versions of the flu that didn't kill you, but about our entire economic infrastructure because the virus is killing people in China. China doesn't willingly shut down its economy over nothing. Legitimate health agencies don't warn about mass outbreak for nothing. Yes, the media plays into fears, but the data suggests there absolutely is something worth worrying about with this virus. It spreads easily and has about a 2% fatality rate at this point, which is incredibly high for how fast it's spreading. In reality, that number is probably lower because not everyone who has it is accounted for. Conservative estimates have it around a 1% rate, which is still 10x the flu. Data also suggests it survives in warmer temperatures better than the flu, which means it won't necessarily die out just because spring starts coming around. Is full-on panic warranted? No, certainly not. But concern is legitimate. Let us know, what do you think about the coronavirus over chat.
Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe, smile,